get some. Welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk, Uygur, Adrienne, Lawrence with you guys. Adrienne Lawrence, obviously the star of Overruled on Rebel headquarters. Everybody knows that. I've seen the numbers. And so we've got a hell of a show for you guys today. We've got exorcisms. We've got evangelicals potentially turning on Trump. We've got, at the end of the show, madness is gonna break out. Very similar to what happened last night. Like the Eminem story unraveled the whole show at the end of the program last night. If you remember, make sure you check that out. We had nothing but like ridiculous fun from the Eminem story on. We have ridiculous fun all the time. Let's be honest about it. Let's be honest with each other, okay? But we're gonna have a similar situation in today's show. So, but Adrienne, unfortunately, we start with tragic news again.
Yes. Very much so. It's like deja vu, another shooting in California and lives unnecessarily lost. This time at the hands of an agricultural worker who killed 7 people in Half Moon Bay, California yesterday. And this makes it the state's third mass killing in just 8 days. And there's still a lot we don't know as we learn more as timelines and events unravel. But this is what we do know. Now, the shooting occurred around 2:20 p.m. at 2 separate locations, the police said. 4 victims were found at a mushroom farm off Highway 92, while 2 more people were killed at another agricultural facility between 1 and 3 miles away. A third victim at this second location was rushed to the hospital in critical condition and later died. Now, a 4th person there was shot and also hospitalized with life-threatening injuries, the police had said. And also it's believed that the shooter, who is 67-year-old Za Chun Lee, who is pictured here, worked at one of the agricultural facilities and that the victims were all workers as well. Now, the sheriff's office said 7 of the victims were men and 1 was a woman. This also per the AP News. Half Moon Bay Vice Mayor Joaquin Jimenez said the victims included Chinese and Latino farm workers. Some workers lived at one of the facilities and children may have witnessed the shooting, she said. At 4:40 in the afternoon, Chun Li's car was spotted parked outside of a sheriff's substation. And the moment police apprehended him, well, it was caught on video.
Now the sheriff says after gunning down people at 2 different locations, the shooter came here, sat at his car, and waited.
Hands up.
With guns in hand, deputies close in on the 67-year-old shooting suspect. Seconds later, they've got him on the ground, surrounded, hands cuffed. The arrest comes just hours after investigators say he gunned down 8 people, killing 7.
It seems pretty clear there that Chun Li was surrendering to a certain extent by even just sitting in that substation, a police parking lot. But we also know that at a press conference later on Monday evening, Sheriff Christina Corpus said that a semi-automatic handgun had been found in that maroon SUV that Chun Li is registered as owning. And what still seems to be a mystery is his motives. We're still trying to understand exactly what happened and why, but it's just incredibly, incredibly tragic, said State Senator Josh Becker, who represents the area and called it a very close-knit agricultural community. Now, Chun Li was characterized as a disgruntled worker by David Pine, who happens to be the president of the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, but we really have no details on why he was allegedly disgruntled. We just know that there's been an unnecessary mass shooting once again in California with a firearm. Cenk.
So, guys, we're in a slow motion massacre in America. And the politicians are like the Uvalde cops sitting outside doing nothing. So there was a massacre in Southern California. 2 days later, there's a massacre in Northern California. and around we go. In fact, this is the 38th mass shooting this year. Well, that sounds disastrously high if we were in December, but we're not. We're in January. We're not even out of January. It's in less than 1 month. A mass shooting is defined as 4 people, not including the shooter, getting shot. But now there's a new term that I saw today for the first time. This is 6th mass murder of this month. Mass murder is 4 people killed in a mass shooting, not including the shooter, at least. So basically, the other word for it that I've been using now for years is a massacre. So we've had 6 massacres in 23 days in the beginning of this year. And nobody's doing anything about it. And nobody's ever going to do anything about it. So you just have to wait and wait for the massacre to happen in your neck of the woods. And it's a near guarantee it will. It goes around and around and around. So we don't know where it's going to stop. I look, at this point, people coming to America are playing with their lives. And staying here is playing with your life. Because the politicians, this is late stage capitalism run amok on steroids in every, like, indescribable late stage capitalism. Because the gun manufacturers, which is a relatively small industry, would like to maximize profit, our politicians are letting them kill us in massacre after massacre without doing anything to stop it. So now, do the gun manufacturers pull the trigger? No. Do they provide the guns to kill people? Yes, definitely. Does that make a difference? Yes. So let me show you this charts that we showed you yesterday. But I want you guys to see the sense of the scale, okay? So that, on the lower left, is all the other developed nations on earth. That's their gun homicide rate. Tiny, right? Why? Because they strictly regulate guns. On the all the way in the upper right corner, that's us. We're the only ones there. We're the only lunatics that have allowed these nonstop massacres. We know what's causing them. It's directly correlated to the rate of guns owned. And now in America, there's 120 guns for every 100 people. The rest of the world thinks that we're absolute lunatics. We're detached from reality. What kind of human beings allow themselves and their kids to be massacred on a daily basis and don't do anything about it? It's unhuman. The rest of the world is looking at us like, what is wrong with them? Instead of being the land of opportunity, now we're the land of massacres. But we have a small right-wing cult who thinks that guns are 1,000 times more important than people's lives. Oh, massacres in schools that happen over and over again, our kids getting butchered. They say, who cares? My guns are more important than your kids. Maybe we should have less stores so they could all die in a fire hazard instead. They're not even trying. And look, Adrienne, motive, I'm gonna say something that might be considered controversial. Who cares? I mean, I don't care if it's a workplace thing, it's a religious thing, a political thing, a racial thing. Now that sounds like something we should care about. Of course, I care about it only if it drives more shootings, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter why you're going to do something that leads us to believe you're mentally ill, right? And a specific, part of mentally ill that is violent. Not all mentally ill people are violent. I mean, look, I think at this point, about a third of the country, the Republicans are all mentally ill. They believe in insane things that can't possibly be true, but yet they believe it with all their hearts. They're not all violent, but yes, there is a section of the population that is prone to extreme violence because they're mentally unstable. And some of them will pick a personal grudge, some of them pick a political grudge, some racial, religious, etc. But it doesn't really matter because that's not the unifying theme. They're not all doing it for politics or race or crime or anything like that. They're doing it because they can, Imagine a room full of incredibly unstable people who can't wait to kill someone. Well, we walk into that room as a society and we give them assault rifles and semi-automatic guns, etc. And we go, have at it, Hoss. But you know who's the most mentally ill? It's not those guys, it's us for allowing it to happen to us over and over again. And guys, okay, so it happened again within 2 days, right? You think they're gone? They're not. It's gonna happen 2 days from now. It's gonna happen 7 days from now. It's gonna happen 4, 12, 17. So just wait. Just wait and hope it isn't you, because our politicians will never do anything to help you.
No, they won't, as long as they continue collecting those coins. And the thing is that when we look on that global, larger scale, as you pointed out, we see that there are only 3 countries in the world that currently have any kind of constitutional right to bear arms. It's the US, Mexico, and Guatemala. And of course, Mexico and Guatemala were inspired by the United States. The thing is, there were other countries as well, 6 other countries that were also inspired by the United States, and they used to have a right to bear arms in their constitution, but they have since repealed the laws because they know how dangerous it is when you have a militarized society as we do. And yet we're just this outlier sitting here, even though we're watching our loved ones be massacred on a regular basis. We are the only country with a right to bear arms, yet no true constitutional restrictions on that, even though, as Cenk observed yesterday, well-regulated militias right there. But for some reason, the Supreme Court wants to have a bastardized reading of the Second Amendment so that these gun manufacturers can continue to fill the coffers of our members of Congress. It is so incredibly disheartening to see that other countries can get it together and avoid the loss and death of their people unnecessarily at the hands of guns, yet we still are on the struggle bus for this. And so when we have now 101 mass shootings, we know that, again, there are other countries that have used models of stricter gun control and been successful. This per CNN. In South Africa, gun-related deaths almost halved over a 10-year period after new gun legislation, the Firearms Control Act of 2000, went into force in July 2004. The new laws made it much more difficult to obtain a firearm. Britain tightened its gun laws and banned most private handgun ownership after a mass shooting in 1996, a move that saw gun deaths drop by almost a quarter over a decade. These people are making wise decision to preserve the lives of their people. Why we can't is beyond me.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts, Cenk?
Yeah, so last couple of things here. Number one, the gun industry is not alone. The healthcare industry also kills 45,000 people a year. Because you don't have health insurance, because they can't afford their premiums or deductibles, et cetera, 45,000 people die every single year. And that's a stadium full of people. We should all be absolutely outraged by that, but there's no outrage at all. Why? Because mainstream media is our opiate for the masses. It's okay, don't look at the corruption. No, the drug companies are paying them, the healthcare companies are paying them, insurance companies, the gun manufacturers, defense contractors. We spend more money on defense than the other top 10 countries combined, and on and on and on. All of this going to death. But it's okay, somebody's making a profit. So everybody on TV says, it's normal. It's not at all normal. We have a gun homicide rate that is 18 times the average of other developed nations. 18 times. Not, we're like 18% higher. No, we're 180% higher. Wait, I think 18 times might be 1,800. Whatever, 18 times larger than other countries. So is it the guns? It is 100% the guns. Anyone who tells you otherwise is completely ignorant. They don't know anything. And I guarantee you they love their guns and they feel inadequate and they feel like they need the guns. And they're lying to you on purpose. They're lying to themselves. They don't know it. They're in a trance. They're like, us getting murdered at 18 times the rate. That's a great thing. That's called freedom. No, it's called death. Okay, one thing that's, here, let me show you the last one. Mass shootings. Show that chart just so you see a sense of scale. Because look, there's wall-to-wall lies in America. So if you go online, the right wing will say, no, we don't have as many mass shootings. Or it's not a big deal, or it's not guns. Look at it, look at the number of mass shootings. Gee, I wonder which one is us. Can you tell? All of this is because we allow bribery of our politicians. If you allow bribery, every company is going to bribe the politicians. Every industry is going to bribe them. Even if it means that we get killed for it. We're killing ourselves for profit because the Supreme Court legalized bribery. And the goddamned mainstream media won't call it corruption. They won't call it bribery. By the way, all the politicians in Washington, damn them to hell too, including the Democrats. When are you going to call it corruption? When are you going to call it bribery? By the way, progressives in Congress, are you ever going to act look, telling me that you're outraged by the guns and that we should have gun regulation is useless. Totally useless. I know, progressives have been saying that, Democrats have been saying that for decades. Are you gonna do anything about it? Well, what would you do about it? Well, you would say, hey, here's a senator, and he takes this many bribes, and he's drenched in blood because of it. Oh no, but that would offend my dear colleagues. And my colleagues' feelings are so much more important than those dead 7 people in Northern California, 11 dead in Southern California, hundreds murdered in these massacres already in 23, 24 days. But we wouldn't want to offend effing senators, would we? Offend them all deeply. Talk about how corrupt they are and how they're the sickest people in America. But no, Democrats and progressives, no, we've been told by mainstream media, you have to be civil and polite, and you have to obey and be a good little boy and a good little girl and get a pat on the head for being civil. Keep being civil while we all die out here. Okay, nothing's gonna change ever as long as the progressives in Congress are neutered, or sit there like lumps on a log, and are so afraid. They're so afraid of Democratic leadership. They're so afraid of the mainstream media. It's corporate media. It's the people that you're supposed to be fighting, but instead you're playing patty cakes with them. Would you like to wake the F up already? Okay, look, the Republicans are the most guilty. Corporate Democrats are the second most guilty. Mainstream media maybe tops them all, let alone right-wing media. But yes, progressives, you're the least guilty, but you're still guilty because you just sit there and take it. And because you've been cowed. You've been absolutely cowed. You're on your knees. Oh, what if corporate media criticizes me? Who gives a damn? Fight for us. Fight for us. God damn it, why did we send you? Fight for us. But you won't, and more people will get killed. But your colleagues will be so happy with you. And Anderson Cooper and Jake Tapper and Joy Reid will give you a pat on the head and say, good boy, good girl, shut up and obey, they'll say, and you'll do it. Let's keep it real. Again, the progressives are the least guilty, but all of you in Washington, every politician in the country that doesn't fight like hell, why don't you see them doing this? Oh, but it would be uncivil. And the NPR and New York Times would say, oh, I'm being so uncivil, I should just let everybody get murdered. Just let them get murdered and be civil. And everybody will get along in Washington. They'll pass that money around. Money. Say the goddamn words, corruption, bribery. Say the effing words. But you won't because you're cowards. I said it. Live with it because that's your actions. Young Turks, we'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Adrienne with you guys. I'm gonna read just one YouTube comment here from one of our members on YouTube. Dawned on me, said, Katie Porter should be whiteboarding this message about guns daily. It's all that needs to be focused on until it's done. I really like Katie Porter. I think she's among the best we have in Congress. She also would not offend her colleagues if her life depended on it. She would think that it was just the most outrageous thing to do. To say that the campaign contributions are bribes, she wouldn't do it. She wouldn't call out a specific individual. No, because the etiquette, the brainwashing in Washington is so deep that a very good, decent person like Katie Porter, totally brainwashed. She thinks just like all of them. And I'm not trying to pick on her. I'm telling you, she's one of the best. And even her, totally brainwashed into thinking that offending her colleagues is some sort of the deepest crime in America. No, get something done. Get something done, okay? That's, okay, the whiteboards are great, but get something done. The way you get something done is by getting a lot of attention. The way you get attention is by calling things out so that you pound the message home. But no, progressives are super civil. Whiteboard is as much of a fight back as we can have. Ooh, okay. Adrienne, more news.
All right, speaking of attention, apparently it seems that Vice President Mike Pence wanted a little bit of it. Couldn't just be Biden and Trump with those classified documents located in places they shouldn't be. No, VP Pence had to also have some classified documents in his personal belongings. Yes, per CNN, a lawyer for former VP Mike Pence discovered about a dozen documents marked as classified at Pence's Indiana home last week, and he has turned those classified records over to the FBI. The FBI and the Justice Department's National Security Division have launched a review of the documents and how they ended up in Pence's house in Indiana. More details on the documents, as far as I'm concerned, they were not in a secure location, and I'm sure not by anybody's Corvette. But as soon as the ex-VP's attorney found them, they secured the papers in a safe. The classified material was stored in boxes that first went to Pence's temporary home in Virginia before they were moved to Indiana, according to the sources. The boxes were not in a secure area, but they were taped up and were not believed to have been opened since they were packed, according to Pence's attorney. Once the classified documents were discovered, the sources say they were placed inside a safe location in the house. Now, while this does come after Pence asked his lawyer to conduct a search of his home out of an abundance of caution, well, Pence has repeatedly said that he didn't have any classified documents in his possession. Check him out here on ABC last November.
Did you take any classified documents with you from the White House?
I did not.
Do you see any reason for anyone to take classified documents with them leaving the White House?
Well, there'd be no reason to have classified documents, particularly if they were in an unprotected area.
Yeah, and I would say especially VP Pence, because he wouldn't have that presidential power to declassify them on demand. But anyways, Pence's representative to the archives, Mr. Greg Jacob, explained this in a statement. A small number of documents bearing classified markings were inadvertently boxed and transported to the personal home of the former vice president at the end of the last administration. Vice President Pence was unaware of the existence of sensitive or classified documents at his personal residence. Vice President Pence understands the high importance of protecting sensitive and classified information and stands ready and willing to cooperate fully with the National Archives and any appropriate inquiry. I just don't know if this was Pence's effort to be relevant in the moment, but basically his Washington, D.C. advocacy group office was also searched and no classified records of any kind were found there, which is good. But discovery of those classified documents from Trump and Biden and now Pence's home really makes us wonder if everybody has classified documents and maybe, I don't know, maybe we're just missing out, Cenk.
Yeah, and now I feel like I missed the party. I mean, where's my classified documents? So, all right, look, a couple of things again that might be controversial. One, about the Pence ones, I don't care. I'm open to having my mind changed depending on the facts. They all shouldn't take documents home, and I don't know if it's just like corporate propaganda to protect corporate politicians like Mike Pence that they explain the story of how somebody else packed it up for him and taped it and he's never seen it. Who knows if that's true or untrue? But it appears to be a small number of classified documents, and they were taped up apparently, and it looks like out of all of the different classified documents story, this one appears to be the clearest one that was a quote unquote mistake, right? Now, Mike Pence is a Republican. He's fundamentalist, a religious figure. Can't stand him, loathe him. But we're the fairest show in America. And so, and now among the three, Trump, Biden, and Pence with classified documents, Trump is definitely the worst. Biden is the second worst, and Pence is the third worst. Go ahead, find somewhere on TV where they say that. Okay, no, the MSNBC will say Trump and Pence are monsters, and Biden's perfectly innocent. Fox will say the opposite, etc. No, it looks like for the moment being until they find 7 other places where he has the documents just like they did with Biden. But for now, Pence has the least amount of classified documents. It looks most like a mistake. Look, guys, if they take it home as a mistake, that's already a problem. And there should be some sort of consequence for that. If they take him home in a serial way, like Biden and Trump did, that's a bigger problem. Why? Why do you keep taking home these classified documents? That's really weird. It requires an explanation. So far, both Biden and Trump have not given a good one. And then the third layer, why is Trump worse? Well, I mean, he had way more documents. Much more importantly, though, is what were in the documents. We know that there were apparently some nuclear secrets in the documents. And he also tried to make sure that nobody knew that he had the documents. He hit him. He lied about it. He lied to the FBI. He had his lawyer lie, etc. Which goes to intent. It looks like Pence doesn't have much intent for the moment being on the facts that we know. Trump clearly has bad intent. That's why he's hiding it from the FBI. That's why he's hiding it from the National Archives. So if Pence, any of them, it doesn't matter who it is. I know we're so partisan. It's so nobody can see straight anymore. But I like to think that we at TYT can. So if one of them, it doesn't matter who, took them home for an illicit purpose, or just one of many examples is selling them, they should go to prison for the rest of their lives. And I don't give a goddamn that they're president or vice president, okay? And that's just as true of Biden as it is of the other two. But right now, if I had to take a guess, it's not complicated. It's not because I don't like Trump. It's because he took home the most top secret documents we have for no goddamn reason. He clearly did it on purpose. He clearly moved it in a way to hide them. He clearly lied to the authorities so he wouldn't get caught. Why did he want to have those classified documents so bad? Can you see the difference between the Trump, Biden, and Pence one? Please tell me you can. I asked the audience, but Adrienne, I know you can.
Oh, without a doubt. Just as you've noted, Trump was doing everything in his power to conceal these documents. And every time DOJ kept coming by asking about them, he was hiding them. It's like, there's no question here. As far as Biden goes, I'm sure it was just being, a little bit on the negligent side. But as it concerns Pence, I have no doubt that this man is so straight arrow. I know that he can't even pee with the lid up without mother's permission. I do not doubt that that man did not truly think he had any classified documents and would not have kept them if he had had them. He is such a straight arrow player here. And even just asking your lawyer to go ahead and check all of your properties really speaks to his willingness to do his due diligence and to come forward with them. But again, I don't know if he's just trying to join the party. The fact that it seems that everybody got classified documents. And again, I feel like I'm missing out, but that's just me.
Yeah. So I remember, it's the last fun thing here. There's a guy named Sandy Berger who used to work for the Clinton administration. He once went to go look at classified documents, and he was in a secure location, and then he stuffed them into his pants. So the Democratic guy, right? Now that shows you illicit purpose, right? He's obviously trying to take them out for some reason. He's not supposed to take them out. He got caught, and it was hilarious. And the Republicans were like, "This is the worst crime in American history. How could you remove classified documents? He stuffed them in his pants." Trump's got him stuffed in his ears and pants and shirt. It's coming out of his zipper, etc. And they're the nuclear secrets. And he was like, "Oh, I'm not going to tell you what. No way. I want these. I'm going to do something with these. I don't want you to find out." And the Republicans are like, "I don't see it." I mean, it's comical. The degree to which they've lost their mind is comical. Today I said that I said on social media, Pence's transgression doesn't appear to be anywhere near Trump's. Bunch of right-wingers write in, they're like, "Oh, that's just because you're so biased, you like Pence." I hate Pence. What are you talking about? I think that the way that they phrase it, I think that they genuinely think Pence is a Democrat. Because remember, they wanted to murder him, right? There was a hang Mike Pence on January 6th. So they might think that he's a Democrat because they're detached from reality. Who knows what they think? Maybe they think he's a Martian. I don't know. But for the rest of you, the sane world, yes, Pence is a straight arrow. It's very unlikely he was going to do something illicit with it. Yes, he's a Republican. And it's okay to be honest about Republicans and say that one's probably not too guilty. Wow, honesty. I know in media it seems near impossible.
Yep. All right, let's move on to another Republican straight arrow, but this time this one might be a little bit more problematic. Check this out.
Our work as a pro-life movement is far from over.
Yep, that's right. Even after the reversal of Roe v. Wade and numerous attacks on reproductive rights, Republicans think they need to do more to advance the pro-life movement. And that clip we just heard, right-wing host Pat Miller say that the work of the pro-life movement is far from over. And now he wants to take away pregnant women's rights to travel across state lines. That is, Representative Jim Banks also agrees. Why? Because they don't want women to have access to abortion. Check this out.
If a young lady can hop in a car in Fort Wayne and in an hour and a half, she can be in a place in Michigan, or in just under 3 hours, she could cross the line into Illinois and achieve what she was able to do with abortion clinics here in Indiana, the fight is far from over.
That's exactly right. And I'm for federal legislation. I'm for stronger laws at the state levels, whatever we can do to save lives, to protect babies. That's what this fight is all about.
Yeah, sure. Well, here's why Banks' statement is particularly important right now. So Banks made headlines last week for announcing his campaign for the Senate seat held by GOP Senator Mike Braun, who decided against running for re-election in 2024 and will run for Indiana governor instead. Now he's running a super aggressive campaign riddled with culture war tropes. His campaign promises to include increasing border security, imposing trade measures on China, stopping transgender girls from competing in sports, and banning critical race theory. In fact, his campaign announcement read, "Radical socialist Democrats are trying to change America, but I won't let them. I've been on the front lines fighting for America First policies in Congress. Indiana deserves a conservative fighter in the United States Senate, but the radical Democrats and the spineless Republicans are going to do everything they can to stop me." Yeah, so Banks' comments really follow several clinics nationwide who are moving across state lines in order to provide services in addition to patients really having to travel hundreds of miles away for abortion, which is simply just health care. And in one case in particular, you saw a child from Ohio travel to Indiana where abortion remained legal after 6 weeks in order to abort a pregnancy that was the product of a rape. The thing is that still we have Republicans and members of the GOP wanting to go even further to restrain the rights of individuals to exercise bodily autonomy and seek health care for themselves. And that's a really scary thing. Cenk.
Okay, it looks like the red states are now in danger of being basically the Gaza Strip, where you can't leave, somebody else controls your fate, your freedom, your sovereignty, etc. So they might all become occupied territory soon. So what, a woman, if she's leaving the state, is going to be tracked by the state? Where are you going? Are you going to have an abortion? Are you pregnant? Where are your papers? Let me see inside your vulva. And these clowns, these right-wingers, say they're against government tyranny? You're gonna track women leaving the state to find out what they're doing. Otherwise, what? You won't let them leave the state? Are they all your prisoners now? You're for freedom? All right-wingers are a joke. They don't believe in freedom at all. All they believe in is power and oppression. All they want to do is oppress you. So, I'm tracking you. Who'd you have sex with? Why'd you have sex? Well, what are you gonna do with your body? I don't give a goddamn about your doctor or your health or anything. I don't care if you were raped or anything. I control your body. And then you're worried about government tyranny. That is government tyranny. It's the definition of government tyranny. Look, right-wingers, just admit it. Just say it out loud. You hate freedom. It's a fact. It's a fact. Now you're trying to restrict their movement. It wasn't enough that you were controlling their bodies. You were controlling their decisions that are related to their health care. You're controlling their family. You're controlling the most private decisions they've ever made. You know that Republicans, for as long as I've been alive, have been trying to pass anti-sodomy laws. They're gonna, by the way, that's coming. That's gonna make a comeback too. Because it's not that long ago, Ken Cuccinelli was trying to do it in Virginia until very recently. There's a bunch of states that try to do it. That means you're not allowed to have anal or oral sex. So the Republicans want to get into your bedroom and be like, what kind of sex are they having? Oh, let me watch. Bunch of perverts, total perverts, right? They hate freedom. The jackbooted tyrannical government that they're talking about is them. It's them. Okay, oh no, he got oral. I don't like it. Put him in jail. She controlled her own body. Put her in jail. She left the state without asking us. Put her in jail. Freedom. You guys hate freedom. Why don't you just be honest with yourself for once in your life? So look, I don't know what's going to happen in the red states, but if these guys keep doing this, you gotta get out of the red states. They're a disaster. They're all going to turn into sinkholes. But by the way, they already are. I mean, so watch. Hey, Republicans, get ready to cry. You ready? Alabama and Mississippi, the worst states in the country. Why? They're the most Republican. So Republican governors drive them into the ground. They're like 48th, 49th, 50th in every category: healthcare, education. Even why? Because Republicans want to keep their voters ignorant. That's why they say, don't fund education, that's for sure. Tax cuts for the rich, tax cuts for the rich. When are you schmucks ever going to figure it out? Look, I know that Republican voters love hatred, they love fear, they hate freedom, they hate choice, they don't like the US Constitution, they don't like any of those things. I get it. But hey, schmucks of the world, they're using your lust for oppression and hatred to just get themselves tax cuts. The entire point of the Republican Party is actually to get rich people tax cuts. This whole abortion thing, the leaders don't care. They're looking to cash in. Oh yeah, get distracted, go fight over there. Oh yeah, we're gonna imprison all those women. Yeah, and the right wingers like, yeah, I hate women. Yeah, control their bodies. Don't let them leave the goddamn state. Freedom, you guys are a joke. An entire party made up of jokers. Total. How can you not tell that you're the party against freedom? How could you not tell that? That's amazing. It's amazing. Go ahead, try to imprison women, because that's next. That's what he's alluding to. And then the other thing, Adrienne, is now in a Republican primary, if you don't have the most mental, lunatic, extreme position, you're gonna lose. So anytime a conservative host asks anything, do you believe in putting all the Democrats in prison for no reason? If you say no, oh, you're a loser. Rhino, we don't want him. Do you agree that Trump should win all elections no matter what the voting is? No? No, that's it. Oh, we don't want him, okay? Do you agree that we should imprison all these women? No? Oh, boo, we hate women. Go, boo, we don't want them. The Republican Party now is just like a cesspool of toxicity. It's just like a waste dump. And these things are all super obvious, but corporate media, right-wing media tells you they're awesome, and mainstream media tells you, I can't tell. I can't tell who's right or wrong. Oh, maybe we should take away women's freedom. I can't tell. I've got it at 50-50, mainstream media says. I don't have it at 50-50. We actually do the news here.
Indeed, we do. That's right. We got more news for you when we get back.
Back on TYT, Cenk and Adrienne with you guys. Human Old Dragon, I think, or Humanoid Dragon maybe, said, actually gifted 5 Young Turks memberships on YouTube. We deeply appreciate that. Of course, you can become a member on YouTube by hitting the join button below the video. Everybody else, you can do it at tyt.com/join. Ruggedly Handsome gifted 5 subs on Twitch. It's another way to do it. Love you guys for doing that. And I'm just gonna read one YouTube member comment here. Left in Oz said, thank you, Cenk, for bringing truth to the Americans and providing a home for progressives. Best membership I've ever bought. #TYT, #wolf-pack.com. Thank you, I appreciate it. We all gotta stick together because it's only us. It's us here at TYT and you guys that watch. We're the only ones actually trying to bring positive changes to the country. Literally, the only ones. Everybody else is busy being incredibly polite to one another or being like weirdly counterproductive and self-destructive and tearing down everything in their path. We're trying to build something for positive change. I know, near impossible, but we're gonna keep on doing it until we win. All right, Adrienne, what's next?
All right, I don't know that we're the only ones. Apparently, Turning Point USA is trying to do something.
Real journalism will in fact take place, that these outlets are looking to uncover the truth of the story, because I think the American people certainly have a right to know what is happening with our nation's leadership, although not in leadership in Congress today in the same capacity, but with the Pelosi family. We've been gaslit about what this story has meant for the last several months when it comes to political violence or extremism. And I think there's a lot more to the story here that deserves the chance to be unearthed.
Yeah, so even though she's no longer House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi still rents space, free space, in the heads of conservatives, of which there's a lot of free space. But definitely one, including this Turning Point USA contributor who is sounding the alarm in support of the right's latest conspiracy. Now, her tone is serious, as you saw or heard, but her take really can't be taken seriously. Watch the rest of it.
The case for this lawsuit. Kudos to media for actually investigating and conducting actual journalism, particularly with the latest development that's trending on social media that an exorcism was ordered from within the Pelosi house. It begs the question, how much of that is happening on Capitol Hill with our nation's leadership in Washington, D.C.? You know, it's no joke when many people say that there are demonic forces seeking to change our country from the inside out, and that story deserves a chance to be told.
Yeah, so conservatives are out here really convinced that Nancy Pelosi arranged for an exorcism of her home following the violent in-home attack of her husband in October of last year. And this latest conspiracy theory really stems from a New York Times piece that quotes Pelosi's daughter, Alexandra. Alexandra, always the id to her mother's superego, was more blunt. I think that weighed really heavily on her soul in terms of the attack on her father. I think she felt really guilty. I think that really broke her. Over Thanksgiving, she had priests coming, trying to have an exorcism of the house and having prayer services. Now, it's unclear whether Pelosi also actually did have a clergyman who performed a literal exorcism of her San Francisco home, where a man had broken in and beaten Paul Pelosi with a hammer. But that really didn't seem to stop the right from speculating or throwing its resources behind a FOIA request to try to unearth the truth. Cenk, are you thinking that maybe Nancy did invest in an actual exorcism?
Maybe. So it's, look, this when they talk about demonic forces, that's hilarious. I'm gonna come back to that later. But Adrienne, I don't know that it's much of a conspiracy theory. Her daughter said it, so you read the quote. I'm curious what you think. I think people are old school religious, right? In a way that is befuddling to me. Like an exorcism of the house. Look, I think that's mental, but a lot of people don't agree with me. And I talked about it on social media, and everybody, both Republicans and Democrats, were like, "How dare you? Exorcism is perfectly normal." I was like, "Really? All right, maybe I'm missing it." So I'm curious what you think, Adrienne. Do you think that for some reason that you think they're exaggerating Christine's comment and she was just talking symbolically or metaphorically?
I kind of think so, kind of think not. I'm a proponent of like staging spaces to kind of like have some good juju, so I'm cool with that. The thought of actually having an exorcism, as in getting a priest to come in, as far as I'm concerned, from all of the movies I've watched, it's pretty hard to do because these priests are generally busy, trying to get people to fill the collection plates. But if you actually were to have someone come in and exorcise, you actually need some demons. I don't know. I just think it's kind of a very significant step to take. I know Nancy has a lot of money. I'm sure she's got some friends in a few congregations, so it could actually happen. I just don't think it's worth actually a FOIA request of getting to the truth and trying to subscribe some demonic forces kind of stuff. It just seems more right-wing nonsense when they could actually be focusing on things that matter.
So on those two things, I totally agree. First of all, on the FOIA request, what are you gonna find out if they actually did an exorcism? What would that prove? Like, oh, they did do an exorcism, so she's innocent or guilty? I don't get it, because Republicans generally like that kind of stuff. In fact, when I wrote it on Twitter, Republicans were like, no way, she did not. Because they think like exorcism is good, and Pelosi would never do an exorcism because she's not good enough, like she's not religious enough. I don't know. I can't deal with these folks. Anyways, so if you find out she did do the exorcism or she didn't do the exorcism, how would that affect anything? I don't know. Okay, now to the demonic forces, there are none. It's 100% a figment of people's imagination. There are no like ghouls and goblins. Like, oh, that possessed the house. Oh, look, it's in the chair. Oh my God, it's in the squash. Get it out of the squash. Oh, now it's in the eggplant. Although with the eggplant sometimes. Okay, look, and now I feel bad because a lot of people do believe in that, right? And And a lot of Democrats were mad at me, like, of course she had to get the demonic forces out. I'm like, okay, like, look, I don't want anybody to misunderstand anything we're saying. We don't believe any of the insane right-wing conspiracy theories about that attack. It's a rando doing political violence, trying to look for Nancy Pelosi, proven 2,000 times over by the police, okay? There's no effect, there's none of that stuff. If you believe that, I can't help you. I can't help you because you're in a cult. And conspiracy theories now, Adrienne, have become the new religion. And that's why when you say like, hey, that's kind of nuts, they get just as offended as religious people when you say that. Because to them, that's their religion. And Tucker Carlson's and Alex Jones, et cetera, they're the new clergy. So I'm not going down, but guys, there are no demons, there are no demonic forces. They're not in your house. And look, I get it. We're all a little like, we all have our own thing, right? There's feng shui. There's, what Adrienne was referring to. In the old days, I was religious, and I believe in I don't believe it, but for a long time, like symbology. Oh, what is that a symbol of and stuff? So I get it. I've done your drug. But I swear to you, there's no ghouls and goblins other than Republicans floating around here, okay? Floating around anywhere. It's a figment of our imagination. It's super obvious mythology. Just read any mythology. It's all identical. It's a disturbed man attacked her husband. It was a really bad situation. I feel terrible for them. But you're not gonna be able to get out demonic forces from your house because they were never there in the first place.
But the thing is, Cenk, if she did have demonic forces in her house, do you think she got to claim them as a dependent on her taxes? Because even in the bracket she's in, she's trying to do everything she can to kind of get it down a level because those Pelosi's make some money. And also, Walmart employees are about to make some money. Yes, that's right. The employer of 1.6 million US workers, that is Walmart, just announced that they will raise the wages for hourly workers in the United States by as much as $2 an hour. This per Reuters. Walmart's new wage hikes lift its average hourly wage pay to $17.50 from the current $17 an hour and will reflect in March 2nd paychecks. The minimum wage will rise by as much as $2 for staff at its US stores to a range of $14 to $19 an hour, depending on location, a spokesperson said, adding that about 340,000 workers at about 3,000 stores will be eligible. Now, the federal minimum wage, it's still holding steady at $7.25 an hour, and at least 20 states don't have a minimum wage above $7.25. And because Walmart's geographical location is largely in the South, this wage hike could be huge for workers. This per the Wall Street Journal. Walmart has a more rural and southeastern store base compared with some of its US rivals, including Target and Costco. That means more of its 4,600 stores and warehouses are in states such as Texas, Mississippi, and Georgia that haven't adopted higher minimum wages in recent years. Now, the company's move could lead to wage pressure in lower income areas where it is one of the main employers. Some economists have found that Walmart's market power is a primary determinant of wage levels in local economies where they have a large presence, especially at other retailers and grocery stores. And it's really cool because Walmart's wage increase, well, it isn't really a product of generosity as much as it is a product of a tight labor market and heightened competition. Companies like Amazon, Costco, and Target have been offering minimum pay of at least $15 an hour since 2020, really luring workers away from Walmart. And so, do you remember how Amazon workers, they reacted when learning that their wages would be increased?
Back in November 1st, we are also establishing a new Amazon minimum wage of $15 an hour.
This is game changing for a lot of people. And it's also very interesting that progressives in Congress predicted the impact of the domino effect that we're seeing with Walmart today. Back when Amazon upped its wages, well, Bernie said this: Today, I want to give credit where credit is due. And that is that Mr. Bezos and Amazon have done the right thing, Sanders said in an interview. Sanders said Amazon's efforts were likely to have a ripple effect all over the economy by putting pressure on competitors like Walmart, where the starting hourly wage is $11 to follow suit. And that was in October 2018. Not only does this make a difference in the lives of hundreds of thousands of Amazon employees, it also sends a message to the fast food industry, the airline industry, and the retail industry in general, that the time is now to begin paying workers a living wages. And this impact will continue to be felt because despite the current layoffs in tech and banking right now, well, the market's gonna see wages continue to rise for the exact reason that Bernie noted. More than half of the states in the US are set to lift their minimum wages in the coming year, although due to the tight labor market, employers have in many cases needed to offer pay significantly higher than the legal minimum in order to attract and retain employees. But of course, I have to note, don't get it twisted, even with those gains, the American worker still is struggling. $15 an hour still wouldn't offer a living wage to a single adult and families of four in many regions throughout the United States. Jenks, does this still sound like good news to you?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely good news, but we're like inching towards good news, right? And by the way, everyone in cable news will find this to be atrocious news because they're worried about inflation because that could mean that the Fed would raise interest rates again. And then their beloved stock market portfolios might go down a little bit. So they're like, oh no, wages are going up for average Americans. That could hurt my portfolio. Then I would only have 1.7 billion instead of 1.75 billion. So that's what you'll see a lot of on cable news, if they cover this at all, but my guess is they will never cover this. Okay, so now as to who should get credit here. Look, earlier in the show, I was criticizing progressives for not taking nearly enough action on just about anything. But in this case, you have to give tremendous credit to Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna. So originally, they had the Bezos Act where they were pushing Amazon to go to $15 minimum wage. And at the time, mainstream media and everyone else yelled at him, made fun of them. And we quoted those articles for you back in the day where they're like, oh, what does he think he's gonna do? Actually get Amazon to raise their wages? But he put so much pressure on, they both did, that Amazon buckled and they did raise the wages. And that's the video you guys saw. When it was announced that Amazon had buckled to Sanders and Khanna, the crowd went nuts. Those are Amazon workers going, yes. It's one of the very, very few times in my 25 years of covering politics that I've ever seen a politician actually get something done that made a difference in people's lives. Walmart has 1.6 million workers across the country. And we said at the time, I think I interviewed Ro Khanna, they said it in the quotes that Adrienne just read to you. It's not just about Amazon, because once Amazon goes to $15 an hour, they're gonna be your ally in pushing everyone else to $15 an hour, otherwise they have a competitive disadvantage. And that's exactly what happened. And now, because Walmart's trying to keep up with Amazon and others, Walmart raises their wages. So a giant thank you to Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna for making that happen against all of the skeptics and the cynics. The skeptics will always tell you you're never gonna get any change. Don't bother, don't do anything. Just sit back down on your couch. That's the #1 goal of mainstream media, is to make sure that you don't try to actually get something done. Well, they defied them and they did get something done, and it's had a great effect. Now, all the other politicians, back to the usual. They've waited so long on minimum wage that $15 minimum wage is soon going to be too low, right? Because they just wouldn't raise it, they wouldn't raise it, they wouldn't raise it, because they're all taking money from the National Restaurant Association and other organizations like the Chamber of Commerce. So when Bernie Sanders introduced the amendment for $15 an hour to attach to the COVID relief bill, not only all Republicans, but 8 Democrats voted against it. 8 Democratic senators, including Biden's top allies, because Biden's a liar and he was never in favor of $15 minimum wage. Coons and Carper, the 2 Delaware senators, they were not in favor of it. The Democratic Party, all the leadership, total liars. They were never in favor of it. And Obama did nothing for 8 years. Biden's done nothing for 2 years. And of course the Republicans hate the minimum wage. And so we have all the politicians, as usual, with the exception of the 2 that I mentioned, sitting on their hands and going, well, I guess after decades of us not doing anything, people have started to act on their own. And it's because of workers' power. the threatened strikes, and so many other things that have happened are now finally having an effect. Great, take power in your own hands. Do whatever you got to do to gather as workers and to fight back. And by the way, a lot of times your union bosses will tell you, don't. Management's so lovely, just do whatever they say, right? No, that's why the Starbucks guys had to organize on their own. So many people had to organize on their own because no one in power will ever come to help you. So I'm going to go back and double down on giving Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna tremendous credit for and making a difference in this case that actually puts food on the table for millions of American workers. So God bless their hearts. So I can't, it's so hard to think of another example of a politician actually making a positive difference in your life.
Absolutely, it's a real life example of what a rising tide raises all yachts. It's beautiful.
I wish we had yachts to raise. One day, the struggle continues. But today's a good day. This is good news.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody check out Adrienne on Rebel Headquarters. Her show on there is Overruled. You guys are gonna love it. And we're gonna come right back. And the second hour is totally bananas. So Twitter might be out of business any second. Donald Trump's being dissed by evangelicals. And then it gets crazier. So come right back. Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.